And good morning. How are you? How was your weekend? Mine's been pretty crazy this morning. Monday is my day to get out my garbage, and I try to clean out the refrigerator, making sure there's nothing in there that I'm never going to get back to, like old fruit. So anyway, I did all of that, and I'm ready for today. Today our word is uh, gratitude um, and let's see. I'm going to do a couple of them. I'm going to actually compare some. First, we're going to talk about the whole idea of what grat means. Grat has several meanings, um, and we're going to really look at them in that realm this morning and try to make some fun of it. This is sun at 9:01, 9:02. Here comes the sun. I should really sing that song, huh? Here comes the sun. Well, it's out there. I'm going to try to cover it up. Hold on one second. One second. It acts like it's going to stay gone, and then it comes up. Whatever the reason. Let's see if that'll work. Okay. And so anyway, we're going to talk about the real word. We're going to talk about the base of the word is grat, but really and truthfully, the word is gratuitous. Gratuitous. That's the word for today. And the reason I chose the word is because over the weekend I saw somebody give information that nobody really wanted. And I said, oh, let me look up that word and see what it is. Because we know what some of the words are that where grat is used in, such as grat generally means that it's pleasing, that somebody wants it, it's favorable. In the origin, of course, the word grat is of English origin. But then there's gratitude, which is the thankfulness of it. There's also, gratuity, which is when you're giving somebody a tip, which is also a form of thanking them for whatever they did. Then there's ingrat or ingrat, and it says not thankful, but should be. When I saw that, I said, ooh, every once in a while we run across somebody that we've done a lot for, but they don't see it. And then congratulate is also a part of that whole idea of using the word grat as the root, which talks about wishing someone well. Good morning, Adelia. How are you? Thank you so much for coming Saturday. That was just perfect. That was our first time trying that out, and it really ended up being a well accepted and exciting event. So thank you so much. And then we talk about gratis, which is something that is done for free. How many of us do things gratis? Well, I don't know. I've always done it. A lot of times I tell people you owe me nothing. Because sometimes the payment is in the experience, the payment may be in the exposure. So sometimes you have to decide why it is that you would do something gratis, without pay. So when we talk about the words and looking at both words of gratitude and gratis, it says that sometimes we get them mixed up. Gratitude, it says, really talks about the feeling of being thankful for what one receives, whether it's tangible or intangible, or you can touch it or you can just feel it. It said it can be applied from your past, your present, or your future. And it says gratitude can lead to an increase in your happiness, your better physical health, and stronger relationships when you are able to show gratitude. But then when something is gratuitous, and gratuitous says it is done or provided freely and nothing is expected in return. However, on the flip side of that, it says it can also mean something is not called for, meaning you didn't have to do it. It wasn't necessary. Sometimes we can have gratuitous comments to people, like giving them advice that they didn't ask you for. Okay, they said that is also one. It says you might describe like someone who's, they think they have their own fashion sense going on, and you tell them, well, that would look much better if you put a hat on with some high heel boots and stuff. They didn't ask you that. They wore it the way they wanted it. That was theirs. So that's the gratuitous side we're going to talk about today. But I was just trying to make sure we understood that the root of the word, which is grat, really talks about, most of the time it is something pleasurable. Sometimes people will give you comments. They think that they're pleasant comments. They think you wanted something, the comment or whatever else came with it, and you didn't. A lot of times people will try to do certain things for me. I say, oh, I'm good. You really don't have to do that. And sometimes people accept that as okay, and other times they say, wonder why she didn't, or wonder why he did. It's okay. Let it go. Let it go. But it says gratitude and gratis come from the Latin word meaning pleasing and grateful. But sometimes it's not received that well. So when we break the word down, and I had a little poem here that I found this morning that I thought was cute, almost like childhood. It says, spread a little kindness, sprinkle as you go. Send it out into the world and watch it ebb and flow. The more seeds that you sow, you'll find your own happiness will grow and grow and grow. I thought that was really cute. It was written by Laura Jaworski, from the Jingle Jingle, Little Gnome, and other children's poems. So, every once in a while, childhood gives us our best bearing on understanding how we can live as adults. And I think one of the things, good morning, Joan. How are you? Today, our word is gratuitous today, gratuitous. I remember as a child, my mother always made it that her business, my dad as well, that when somebody gave you something that they didn't have to give you, you must say thank you and how much you appreciated it. It was rote memory. Thank you was like, give it thanks. Thank you so much. And we couldn't just say thanks. We had to say thank you, meaning we recognized who gave it to us. Good morning, Cheryl. Where's Carney? He back in the bed. Hey, Carney. Well, anyway, gratuitous is that word for today. And it says, sometimes gratuitous is when something is not called for. It says it's lacking good reason to give it. Sometimes, as I said, we can do the comments. We can get people, oh, you look wonderful, da, 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 and leave it at that. But then we're going to say, but then you can add something. I bet you could swing that outfit even better. I bet you could, ace this test even better than this. You did good. You got to be plus, but sometimes the extra, which is what in this instance it would be, it's free of charge, but no one asked you for it. So therefore it's so it says in this instance of gratuitous, it talks about it being unjustified, without reason. The person can't reason with you why you decided to give them whatever you gave them. I've always been, and I know it came from when I was younger, is that when we went to somebody's house, you always took something. So I ask people before I come, can I bring, a bottle of wine, and sometimes it is, where everybody's like a potluck. That's different. But sometimes I just ask people, hey, can I bring a bottle of wine? Even if you don't drink it, you can share it with company that will come after us, whatever. And that seems to settle the spirit of understanding. I wanted to do something, but I ask ahead of time, except if they're really, really close. Then I know if I know what they like, then I'm just going to take it. Gratuitous also means uncalled for, unprovoked, unwarranted. It says it's indefensible, meaning sometimes you don't want something and you're trying to tell them, but I really don't want that. Like everybody knows me. Good morning, Calithia. How are you doing? Good morning. Good morning. Our word is gratuitous, and which it means, no good reason, unwarranted. Sometimes it may be comments, or it may be somebody's trying to help you do something that you didn't ask them to help you do. And you just have to understand that may be the way they work, but it's not the way you want it to work. And so you may even have to say something to people. Gratuitous is also something that says it's needless, and sometimes it can be avoidable. You can just avoid it. You don't have to worry about it at all. So, I asked you this morning, are you stuck? Have you ever been stuck in a situation where someone has done more for you than what you wanted, or did it in a way that you didn't want it done? I used to work with a lot of people that said, well, I already set it up for you. And I look at it and I said, okay. I wouldn't say anything to them, but then I had to change it, whatever it was that we were doing. Sometimes you just have to be in the know of what you want, and then try not to hurt feelings, but come back and address it the way you want it, or do it the way you want it without, being rude. But sometimes the rudeness may come out. So when I break the word down this morning, my G is for gratis, without charge. It's free of charge. I believe when you get something that's been given to you that's free, just say thank you. Even if my mother always told us, even if you don't want it, you take it up out of there and you do something with it. If it's something that maybe later on you can use, that's fine. If it's something you can give to someone else, they don't have to know it. Grateful. That's wonderful. Grateful is a good word. Thanks, Joan. So it says, gratis also talks about free of charge, no cost, free on the house. And I always think on the house means like you're at a bar or something. And I've never been a drinker, and people would always try to buy me a drink. And I'm saying, please don't waste your money. Don't do it. It's unnecessary. I don't drink. So that would be just wasteful. Don't waste your money. Good morning, Eunice. How are you? Good to see you in the space as well. Good to see you. Today our word is gratuitous, unprovoked, unjustified, uncalled for. You will find that word grat means thankful, willing, acceptable, and all of that kind of stuff. But that's if it's on the gratis side, which is the first letter I use today. Good morning, Erica. Hey, babe. Good to see you. So gratis means when something is on the house, that means they're just giving it to you, or it's being given to you for free at no cost. A lot of times we're suspicious when anybody gives us something at no cost, including advice. It may be some money, it may be an outfit, something. And we have to always be mindful of the fact that sometimes we have to back up a little bit and find out where they're at on receiving things, wanting things, and find out if they could use it. Sometimes just a question may set it up. Then you're in the know. When we move in our word of gratuitous, we talk about something being redundant. And redundant is not or no longer needed or useful. It's considered to be unnecessary. And a lot of times you will hear something that if there's something that a person wants you to know, they're not going to say it one time. They may say it 2 times, 3 times, because you're not doing what they want you to do, or they don't feel that you're really listening and you're engaged. So sometimes you have to just say, okay, I need to pay attention here because they're getting my attention. That's the second time I've heard that, or the third time. But when something is unnecessary, it is, and you can speak on it. You said, well, thank you. I heard you, because sometimes my daughter and I will be talking and she said, okay, Ma, I heard you. Well, mother, how mother is, but it's still here. The plate is still here. That kind of stuff. When she was little, I would do that. Come back and get your plate, put it in the sink, rinse it, put it in the sink. So doing that kind of stuff, sometimes it just bothers whoever you're talking to. But it also says that it's unessential, it's indispensable, it's a surplus, and it's useless. It's just useless activity, useless talk, sometimes useless behavior. We sometimes don't realize how we get on other people's nerves, but we do. When we move on in our word of gratuitous, and gratuitous is gratuitous. So my A of gratuitous is avoidable. If you can avoid making a scene with somebody or making them feel bad or upset, apologize and leave it alone. Don't make it where it's your thing as well. It was your thing if you initially said something and they reacted funny, ugly, whatever. Acknowledge it. Ooh, that's really good. Acknowledge it and move on. Don't stay on it. So avoidable, it says avoid being able to avoid something or being able to prevent something. That means you're conscious of what it is you're doing. So it says that avoidable means to be preventable, stoppable, meaning don't do it at all, avertable, needless, unnecessary, and escapable. So sometimes people will put you in a situation where you feel you should respond or you should say something. Sometimes the best thing to do is nothing. Don't say anything. Just leave it alone. And acknowledge that, or acknowledge it at some point, and then say, I know I gave you this information, but I'm going to leave it alone now. Thank you so much. You're done with it. When somebody wants to be a little helpful, that you don't want it, in their gratuitous state, it may be tactless. I have seen people say things to others, or they ask them things that are so personal that I'm saying, wow, why would they ever ask that question? But it's not me. I want to be conscious of that and not hurt anyone's feelings. Good morning. The best thing is to walk away. Yes, Mike. Yes, Mike. That's sometimes the best thing to do, to walk away. Be appropriate. Yes. Sometimes we're not as appropriate as we should be, but we should be. And we sometimes need to walk away and acknowledge whatever. But to be avoidable really says that we've stopped it from going any further. We have. It's done. We move on in our word or gratuitous, tactless. Now let's play. Ooh, that comment was just a little much. Having or showing a lack of adroitness and sensitivity in dealing with others or with difficult issues. Sometimes the issues that people are dealing with are so heavy. They have hurt in them. They have care in them. They have mistrust in them. There's so many things that are in the comments that you may say right after or right during them going through something. So you need to sometimes just realize, I don't belong in that, other than to say, I'm here for you. Sometimes we need to just leave it at that. Tender. Ooh, that's a real good word. How many of us can show our tender side? It says tactless is showing this side where we show ourselves to be insensitive or thoughtless, inconsiderate, thinking while not thinking that we're doing something, but it really doesn't serve the purpose well. Impolite. How many of us have accidentally been impolite or intentionally been impolite? Because there's some people, if they feel they need to get your attention, they may say something that they know will hurt your feelings. Self-reflection in your comments and stay neutral. That's right. That's so good, Michael, because sometimes for myself, I have a tendency to be very, very careful on any social media platform, because people will read what it is that you wrote and misunderstand what your intentions were. So sometimes you need to stay neutral, or if you know them really well, say the things that you know that not only you mean, but that they can understand. You don't have to get on and prophesize. You don't have to get on and act like you're better than or fall into feelings. Just leave it. Just leave it. That it's a pleasant. I want my experience in social media to be pleasant. I don't want it to be that I've been rude or misleading or or feeling that I've hurt someone. I don't want to do that. So thank you so much for that. Tactless also talks about one's indiscretion, unpolishedness. And have you ever met people that are just blunt? Whatever they think, they say. Whatever they say, even if they don't mean it, it doesn't matter. The bull is already out of the fence. It's out. It's running. So sometimes we have to think before we ever get to the point where we're, misleading people or hurting people's feelings. My U in gratuitous is unpolished. Um, One of the things when we were younger, we were taught. I was a campfire girl, and as a campfire girl, we were taught to be polite. We were taught etiquette, which fork to use, how we were supposed to, slightly curtsy, all that kind of stuff. We were taught that, and to me, they have a few programs here in the city that do that now, but I love it. They have it for the guys, the young men, and they have it for the young ladies. But the wonderful thing about it is that when we are polished, then we try to do our best to say the right things, to show the right, personality, that we can smile a little bit, shake hands, certainly recognize other people, those kinds of things. But an unpolished kind of person may be crash in what they have to say, may be very vivid in what they're telling you that they want you to know, and you may be misunderstood. You may be misunderstood. So unpolished talks about unrefiled in style and behavior, or behavior, unsophisticated, uncouth, crash. That's the other word, crash. It also says that the person may be raw, meaning they've never had anyone train them as to being polite. Yes, no. Now, I grew up in New York, and in New York, we never said yes, ma'am, no, ma'am. But my daughter, who was born in Italy, we get here, and I taught her yes and no. But down here, oh my God, we learned in the quickness. I mean, express time, that when we spoke to people in the South, it was yes, ma'am, and no, ma'am. So my daughter at 4 or 5 was saying yes, ma'am, and no, ma'am. And when we went to New York, my mother was from the South, and she knew what it meant, and she didn't like it. So my daughter was confused. So she said, Mom, why do up here I have to say yes without the ma'am on it, or without the sir, or whatever? But when I go back home, I say, yeah, that's a juggling act. I said, just think, you're not up here that often. So I said, before you get to the ma'am, just say yes, thank you. You got it. But it was confusing to her. She just didn't understand the whole yes, ma'am, no, ma'am. Unjustified understanding. Yes, 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 yes. So for me, I understand when it was that I didn't do my due diligence to try to teach her what she needed to know. Now she can go up there and she can yes and no, and she can do whatever she does down here, and it's fine. When I go on in my word of gratuitous, my T is for thoughtless. How many of us have met thoughtless people? Have we ever been a thoughtless person? We just say what we think, without giving much thought to it. And it says that's a person in terms of their behavior, not showing consideration for the needs of other people. We need to always do as best we can to show what it is that we would want to be respectful about, and certainly what others need to understand, and deserves respect. So thoughtlessness comes when it talks about being inconsiderate, uncaring, heedless, unmindful, unkind, careless, rude. How many people have we met rude? Oh, tolerance is really good. We need to be tolerant. Absolutely. The interesting thing about rude is that I was going into a door behind someone who looked back and saw that I was behind them and not too far in steps, but they let the door close. That would be rude. I didn't say anything. I just opened the door. But sometimes we see little things like that, which may, help us pay attention to the fact that all the world is not kind. People are not always going to be kind to us. And we need to understand that. So in our own discretion, we need to mirror what it is we want to come to us in return. So if we want to people to show love, then we need to be loving. If we want people to show care, then we need to be caring. We want people to show kindness, we need to be kind. So those are the kind of things that we need to do. I truly believe that the way you behave is for the most part what you should receive. Now there's some people, regardless of who they are, they don't care. They don't care. So they may be just who they are, regardless. On any realm, they are going to be who they are. So when we move on in our word, our O and gratuitous is extremely unpleasant. Oh, that means they are extremely unpleasant. They are unobserving, outlandishly wrong, just out. They're out of it. And it says they're unpleasant. They could be nasty, unpalatable, terrible, dreadful. How many dreadful people have you met? Awful, repulsive. How many people have you met that were foul mouthed? Where every other word was cussing. But yet still they think they're giving you a compliment. Well, if you can take all the other stuff off of it, I can see how pretty it would be. But the fact that you've added a whole bunch of other words that are unnecessary, then I'm confused. I'm kind of frustrated with that. So O could be outstandingly different, observe, basically that you've observed them to be who they are, in terms of how they respond to other people. So be observant, be observant, be one that pays attention to what it is that you say and what it is that others say to you. Sometimes we're not as observant as we should be. We don't always do what we need to do to pay attention. My second U in gratuitous is unkindness. Obligation. That's a good word. Thank you, Joan. Obligation. Are we obligated to do the right thing as much as we can towards others? My U is for unkindness, which I've been saying all along. Inconsiderate and harsh behavior. I think one of the things that you ever would probably get me on is if I feel that you've disrespected me. You've been rude to me for whatever the reasons, and sometimes people are mad about other situations, but you may be brought into it just because you're the next one up. It wasn't really intended for you, but if they haven't calmed down from their anger, then you may be a part of that. Unified. Yes, unified. Thank you, Joan. I went to an event. I used to work. Let me go back. I used to work at Lakeview, and one of the things we had to do is, as a therapist case manager, we had to go to court with our young people. I had adolescents. That was my age range, and I think that was from 13 to 18. And most of them were wards of the court, because they wards of the state. They were no longer able to live in their parents' homes, or they had been basically given up to the state. And we would go to court, and each time the judge would talk to one of the young people, he would get, and it was a man, would get more and more angry because what he had requested of them to do, they hadn't done. And it would just escalate and escalate. And by the fourth or fifth person, everybody was, well, you're on probation for, da, 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 da. It was like, wow. So it's almost like the order that you had to talk with them in. If you hadn't done what was requested of you, your punishment, was going to be more severe. So sometimes you can see where people can get further off track if what they're hearing makes them more and more upset than they already were. So, when we talk about unkindness, it comes in all forms. It could come from somebody sitting in a position of judge, but it also could be from a teacher. It could be from Anybody. It could be from a parent to a child or a child to a parent. But unkindness is remembered. Unkindness is remembered. It says, shouting off the way from New York, Auntie, we love you. And thank you. Thank you so much. Thanks, David. Tell Rhonda, hey. So we talk about our dealings with being, treated unfairly and unkind. And it says it's also unfriendly. You can't be a friend with a person and constantly tell them off and think that they can keep up that same level of friendship. It will not last. It will not work. So, to me, gratuitous behavior, I would stay on the grat part, which means that there's gratefulness. But gratuitous behavior on the negative side could mean that, they're ruining friendships, or they're ruining, their relationships within the family or within the jobs or whatever, because there's this unkindness that goes on, and it's done in such a way where it's unfriendly and unfair and nasty and insensitive. So we have to be conscious about where we place our mouth, and who and what we're saying when we're absolutely out there talking. And the last letter I have, and I always say yay, and gratuitous, is superfluous. And I've always loved this word. I don't know why it says, but superfluous meaning is that it's being more than is sufficient or required. It's excessive. So this has always been my situational. Oh yeah, situational. Yes. Sometimes we have to deal with what is the situation. What are we dealing with? And is it just this is where the problem is, or it's elsewhere? So superfluous talks about it being redundant, excessive, extra. Like we say extra, extra, read all about it. There it is. It says it's expendable, and it says it's useless. When we think about superfluous, we're talking about, when we're talking to people, are we giving them too much information? Are we saying things over and over again? Even if we change one or two words, it's still the same information. So sometimes we just need to be conscious of what it is that we're giving to other people, and when does grat or great, GRAT, end up being more than necessary. When we're grateful, when we've been out to a dinner and our service was wonderful, then we would give a gratuity. When we're looking at just giving gratis, we're just saying, look, I'm just going to do this for you, free of charge. And I do that for a lot of people. I will help them, and I don't want anything. It keeps, what I tell people, it keeps me sharp. When I'm helping you do something, it keeps me sharp, that I still understand, know how to do that, and can be creative in learning a new approach, especially if it's something that I've never seen before. So look, I want you this week to look at the things that you have been grateful for, or the things or the situations where you've been in where a gratuitous spirit has come about. And once again, gratuitous is meaning, it's too much, it's unjustified, without reasonable, reaction, or you gave them a reaction because it was unreasonable of what they were giving you. Even if it's just something that you should avoid discussing, just say, listen, I know you wanted to help me, but I'm good. I don't need anything. I appreciate you. That means that you understand the difference between being thankful for what you got and being thankful, being to tell someone, I appreciate it, but I don't need it. Or I appreciate it and I didn't mind doing it, and I would do it again. Just understand that, here's where I am. This is where I am. My thankfulness, my gratitude is all a part of me just saying thank you to you. So listen, I will see you on Wednesday with another word. I love you guys. I appreciate you so much. My life is just, I just get up every day with joy in my heart, that I'm still blessed to do everything. Listen, I haven't heard from Debbie. Debbie that comes online with us all the time, and I know she lives in that, I want to say that area down there. and I called her and it went to voicemail. And so we all sent up some prayers for Debbie, please. And maybe we'll get back in touch with her. But I haven't heard from her in over a week and a half now. And I know she would have, I don't think she was part of Helene because she came in on that one, but I haven't heard anything from her since Hurricane Milton. So y'all please send up some prayers for her and her family, that they're all right, and that whatever's going on, that it's workable, doable, and she'll be back with us soon. Okay, love you guys. Listen, hit the share button and let this be shared to let everybody know there's no cost to this. This is gratis. Okay, have a great day. I appreciate and I have great gratitude for every one of you. Love you guys. Thank you. Bye-bye. I love you too. Thanks, Mike. How's your mom? I know you're out in Michigan. Are you in Michigan? All right. Love you guys. Bye-bye.